Battlefield RedSec has 4 unique classes, and today's video will allow us to finally make a decision our parents would be proud of, becoming an engineer. This class is a must-have on any squad. It's the unsung hero, and if you watch through the entire video and still decide to not have an engineer on your team, then you're selfish, and you deserve to lose every single game.
Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow, dishonor on your whole family.
Let's jump right into the game, and you're going to see very early on why this class over other classes can dominate on the battlefield. One, this isn't Warzone. This isn't Apex. You're going to have tanks in this. Whether your team decides to have tanks or not, other teams will have tanks. So if you don't have an engineer, you are not ready for it. One game of Battlefield RedSec has different phases. The looting phase at the beginning, you've got the setup phase right after the looting phase, you got the mid game, and you've got the end game phase. Right from the get-go, your engineer is coming in clutch. As you can see in the orange crates, that is a class-specific crate, which means if you're going to get an engineer there who has SMG proficiency, you're going to get a SMG from this box, you're going to get a PDW kit from this box, which is the SMG upgrade kit, which means your SMG from the start can set up anytime there's an orange box. You can get your engineer to open SMG to supply your entire team with SMGs or SMG upgrade kits. You can get your support player to get LMGs, light machine guns, for the entire team if that's what you want. What you want to do at the beginning of the game is to make sure your recon player is not grabbing these orange box because he's going to get a terrible sniper rifle in there with an upgrade kit for it. But what you really want is going to be at the beginning of the game, especially, you're going to want SMGs, LMGs, ARs. So the ARs will be the assault class that comes from it. SMGs will be supplied by the engineers, and LMGs will be supplied by your support player. When you continue in our looting phase, sometimes you're going to get chowed. And behind me, as you landed in, you're going to see that there's an engineer specific locker that we'll come back to that is super important. We're going into our first fight. We can open these green crates. Will always have a plate in there, a random gun. There's some gadgets as well. Another orange crate. As we can see, boom, there's going to be another SMG, another PDW upgrade kit. So you can upgrade your SMG really quickly from the beginning of the game if your engineer, for example, is opening all the orange crates. This is going to be the next most important thing that only the engineer can open in your loot phase that is going to set up your team very early on for the end game. It's going to help you win a lot of games just having the engineer open all of these crates, because as you'll see, opens up, pops out, you've got the XP briefcase that is highlighted in yellow. But look through this, we'll go back to the actual game, and we have to go through what the engineer class actually has to offer. If you look on the left side here, engineer has a repair tool that it comes with SMG proficiency, which means you're better at fighting with an SMG than other classes, especially hip firing with an SMG. Mechanized infantry. As I click it, this will give you a description. I won't go over it super quick. This is what you want to see on the right side. These are the different perks that the engineer class comes with, starting with extra rockets. It increases the amount of rockets carried by 2. Remember, the engineer guy is the one that's going to be your tank specialist. Either you're going to be using the tanks and you're going to be saving your team with tanks, or you're going to be destroying the enemy tanks. Remember this, extra rockets, you're going to want these. Launcher proficiency, 15% faster reload times for launcher. Engineer is your rocket man. Devastating impact, damaging enemy vehicles reduces the repair effectiveness by 50% for 10 seconds. And then class active ability, thermal overdrive, repair tool fixes with plus 50% efficiency for 10 seconds. Why am I telling you all of these perks? That's where the crate that you just opened comes in, because once you grab the yellow briefcase, it'll give you a boost of XP for your entire team. It'll get these perks on the right upgraded faster. And you'll see where that comes in later in the game. What you want is for your entire team to have all their perks as fast as possible. Your engineer, once he has all his perks, will repair your team's tanks. If you don't use tanks, no problem. You still need an engineer. But once you have all of these perks, that means that you can parry your tanks faster and you can destroy the enemy tanks faster. Your engineer is going to come in clutch for this. We can look at the gadgets as well real quickly. Gadget 1, these are things that are also going to be popping out of loot crates. So you got the auto-guided launcher, air defense launcher, very useless. Never pick up an air defense launcher unless it's like super situational. RPG, super strong. Regardless of whether you're an engineer or not, you want to hit the rockets at the back or the sides of the tanks. That's where they're the weakest. That's where you're going to do most damage. So these are the little gadgets that the engineer comes with as well. These are gadgets that are going to be popping up from crates that your team can be using as well. You you don't have to use these. Your teammates can also help you with these gadgets. Gadget number 2, this is going to be super fun later on. Throwable AV grenade. Remember, the engineer specifically have a sledgehammer instead of a knife to run quick with, because the engineer toolkit already has a quick running, and you can destroy your defenses and all that stuff in front of you as well. Now, as we go back to the gameplay, anytime you're an engineer, don't be lazy. Open the freak locker. Boom. You saw it's behind my chat, so you don't see it very well. You see the perks on the right going up. Slowly but surely. I don't know if you noticed, but my teammate just interrogated. You see like how this looks like wall hacks? It's because my teammate just interrogated one of the people that we already knocked on the ground. As we go through this, we're still in the loot phase. This team is pretty annoying. Just trying to loot. We're just trying to get set up. So the first thing you want to do, get looted up. Want to clear the people that are around you. And then you're going to see the select missions in the middle of the screen. Boom. One of my teammates just grabbed a mission. To do a mission, all you have to do is open up your map, and you'll see the missions on the top right of your screen. You pick which mission you want. You can scroll through them, and they'll show you in advance contract that you'll have to do. So this one, for example, is the decrypt beacons contract, which is you grab 2 beacons, you sit still for a couple minutes, then your reward will drop in. You'll see what reward is for each mission. Some missions take longer than others. With time, you'll learn what each of those are. But for the meantime, this is loot phase, setup phase. Setup phase, you want to start doing contracts. That's what I get for yapping, being distracted. I get shot in the back. I deserve that. Please pick me up. That's going to be a good shout from my teammate right there, because the support class, which we're also going to make a video from, has different perks that are going to come in that I'm going to be able to explain in a future video for that smoke that I just mentioned. So from the get-go here, you don't necessarily notice how useful the engineer is about to be. Just the extra boost of getting your entire team's perks. The recon is going to be the eyes and ears of your team. He's going to be live pinging people a lot for you. So you want to make sure your teammates with their different roles also get their perks. The engineer's the guy that's going to get your team the quick perks as fast as possible. So that's how the engineer comes in to help your team at the beginning of the game. What we're trying to set up when we're doing these contracts, from when we started playing the game to now, we've learned that we prefer as a team not using the tanks because they're a little bit too overpowered, they're a little bit too easy, and it's more of a challenge. When you have a full set 4-man like us that plays the game every day, we kind of look for these challenges, right? All right, so this contract gave us vehicle keycard. We're going to start collecting tanks. If you like using vehicles on Battlefield, or if you hate being attacked by vehicles, remember, use an engineer. There is no point in starting to collect tanks if you're not going to have someone that can repair them or even protect them from other tanks. We're going to go ahead and try to grab from the chemical spot. There's a lot of contracts for tanks, and there's a lot of vehicle trailers here at chemical. So we're going to go ahead, do as many contracts as possible to get as many keycards as possible. The things that you're looking out for, regardless of the class that you're in, is 1, if you like tanks, start doing contracts for the tanks. The next thing you want to do is having plates. You need to have plates for your entire squad. Make sure everyone is full, because many times you're going to come into the end game, you're all going to run out of plates, and you're going to lose the game because you don't even have plates. Next thing you want to do is having streaks. You want to have airstrikes, artillery strikes. This is going to be very important for the end of the game and to take out tanks as well. Right now, we're just going through the different contracts. Signal hack contract, pretty simple. You're going to go do there's going to be 2 again, kind of like the decryption. You got to align them towards the box, and if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the percentage of how close or far you are from this blue box that we're running up on right now. And then you sit there for a little bit, kind of like a recon on Warzone, and then it'll give you some rewards. So they're not predetermined. So the different contracts don't necessarily give you the same reward every time. You have to look at that on the menu page. Now, as we're setting up, before we leave our drop zone, we're going to want to make sure we do all the contracts that we can do, which is what we're doing right now. We've collected 1 tank. You see my teammate Rexdilla here has a tank keycard. Now you might be thinking, well, why did it matter whether or not you had an engineer there? Because you spent so much time in chemical and you would have had all the XP anyway. Not every game ends up being the same. Sometimes you have more time to do contracts, sometimes you have less time to do contracts, but right now we're just making sure that we are fully set up before the craziness that is about to unfold happens. We're about to get into some tank gameplay. We're about to get into some 1v4 gameplay. Remember, the engineer has SMG proficiency, so you want to make sure this guy on the team has an SMG at all times, at the minimum. So in fights, it's good. In the looting phase, it's going to be good. And when it comes to mid-end game, when you're facing other tanks or when you're using your tanks, engineer class is going to be hyper necessary. Now we've got the setup done. We're almost ready to go. Oh, get run up on. Good thing we have an engineer on the team that has an SMG that is better with the SMGs. Boom, boom, boom. There is in a fight, you want to have an engineer that's going to be able to do things like this, because if I was a recon, that SMG close range, not necessarily going to get as much benefit as an engineer with it. That's a little bit of a detail. But now we're opening the tanks. We're getting out of here. We're looking for a tank now. Now we're looking to unload our tank onto the lobby, but we're also about to get unloaded on by enemy tanks. Boom, tank on our left. Good thing we have an engineer on the team. Ha! So this is a missile guided, not an auto guided. You have to actually aim it yourself. If I had hit that tank with my rockets that are specific to the engineer class, it would have froze him for 8 seconds there, so we could have thrown an airstrike at him. But I guess that tank was because I'm such a good engineer, that tank was just so scared, so it just kept running away. It just kept driving away because it was so scared. Yeah, let me focus on this tank, boys. I got this. Boom, other tank on the left. Now you just 261. Now the tank is stunned on the screen. He can't move. So we can hit him with all the other rockets that we have. Boom, tank buster, done. You don't want to be in a position where you have a tank running around, and we know tanks are silent in this game as well, a lot of times. So make sure you have your engineer, make sure you're taking out those tanks, make sure you're hitting all of your rocket shots, make sure you're practicing with your rocket shots before, okay? This was one of my first games as an engineer. Cut me some slack. Boom. I just saw, right now I'm helping my teammate, but I just saw another tank at the warehouse on the top of my screen right there. Getting sniped at. Now we've acquired our own tank as well. So far, so good. We've spent a lot of time at chemicals, so we didn't necessarily loot the whole thing. With the proficiency of the engineer, you're the guy who...
Marking a repair station.
Oh, I see another tank right there on the little map. Good thing we have this launcher that you can aim yourself by zooming in. That hurt a lot. Boom. Make sure you're practicing with these, because otherwise you're gonna embarrass yourself like me. And if you can see at the bottom of the screen, you have the artillery strike. I have defibrillators as well. Remember, not only the support player can have defibrillators. It's one of the specific gadgets for the support, but your teammates can grab them as well. And then you see my rocket right next to it. It continues respawning, and it comes back faster and faster if you get those perks on the right. Like, as you go throughout the games, those things will give you will respawn faster as you get to the end game. Now my teammates are both in the tank. They know that they have an engineer if they need repairs. So you always want to be, if you have a tank on your own team, you got to make sure that you're always near the tanks. So basically you have unlimited rockets as an engineer because they keep respawning. That tank is gone. No more tanks in the end of the game. Time to win this. Time to win this like men. On the ground. No tanks. And there you come to the end game. Sometimes you're going to get tanks in the end game. You want to make sure you have the engineer. Sometimes you don't have tanks in the end game, which, you know, usually it's because engineers from your team or other teams took it out. But if you want to have a tank at the end of the game surviving like we do right now, you want to make sure you have an engineer on your team that can constantly repair it as well. Or I cannot reiterate enough how much having this class on your team, you have to. You'll notice instant having an engineer on your team versus not having an engineer on your team. You don't have to be afraid of tanks anymore. If you want, you can even run 2 of them on your team. If your engineer isn't the greatest, run a second engineer. Easy. Easy. Well, if you watched this far, you can tell, to be fair, I wasn't the greatest engineer in the world when I started, but with time, you'll get better and better. Obviously, with every class, it's the same, you know, like you want to make sure you practice with all your abilities, but the big thing about Battlefield RedSec that other BRs don't have is the tanks. I think that makes the biggest difference in the game is going to be either your ability or inability to live with the tanks. If you like using tanks on your team, you're gonna need engineers. If you don't like other teams having tanks, you're gonna need engineers. Having multiple supports on the team or multiple recons or assaults and not having an engineer, bad. Now keep in mind, it's not always gonna work to your advantage. And sometimes your engineer might not make it to the end of the game and then you run into some tanks. That's just gonna happen. If you liked the overview of the engineer class and what you can do with it, please make sure you press that subscribe button, press the like button, get an engineer now, make your parents happy, and I'll catch you in the next video.